Welcome to the Tanya Acker Show. My guest today is Walter Mosley, the Walter Mosley. He's written over 60 books. His latest is Gray Dawn, which is the most recent chapter in the Easy Rawlins series that began with the phenomenal Devil in a Blue Dress. You all remember that one. Walter and I actually started talking about Los Angeles, which is a city from which we both hail, that we both love. And we also talk about how his books and his characters have a particular meaning right now. Given the moment that we're in, we're getting increasingly selective about the sorts of American stories that folks think should be told. Walter is continuing to tell these stories. Gray Dawn is a continuation of his telling those stories. It's a phenomenal book. I have it. You should get it. You should read it. You will love it. And I just have to say, I am so incredibly honored to have him here with me today. So here I am with the great Walter Mosley. Thank you for being here. And please don't forget to subscribe. One of the things I love about your books and your stories is that they are set in my hometown. And then they are set and viewed through the prism of a particular part of my hometown. But I want to go back to you and Los Angeles. What do you love about this city?
I mean, one, like you, I was born and raised here. Though here is a really interesting thing. A long time ago, 40 years ago at least, I was with my father and we were driving towards Santa Monica. And I was remembering being a kid and we would be driving through strawberry fields. There were strawberry fields, I was driving from South Central to Santa Monica, and it was beautiful. And I was saying to my dad, I said, Dad, where are those strawberry fields? He says, Walter, I remember they were here, but I have no idea. And I think that moment is Los Angeles. Whatever you think about it now, 10 years from now, it's not going to be the same thing. It's not the same place. New York, Chicago, most places, they're the same. They don't grow so incredibly. LA has grown 100,000 people every year since 1945. So it was almost nobody. And now there's millions and millions, Southern California, not including San Diego. Yeah. And, yes, I love LA, but part of loving LA is loving how much it changes. So when I'm writing about Easy Rawlins, for instance, the LA he was living in Devil in a Blue Dress is nothing like the LA he lives in Gray Dawn.
And you talk about that. So I have Gray Dawn. I haven't finished it. It's new. People haven't seen it. I have an advanced copy. It is so good, but I haven't finished it and I don't want to give spoilers. But one of the things that I thought was really powerful was your foreword to the book, where you really explain why these characters came to life in the way that they did. I can't do it better than you did, but can you talk a little bit about the historical places in which Easy and his compatriots live, and why you felt the need to sort of give an explanation to them in the foreword to Gray Dawn?
One of the interesting things about Gray Dawn is Easy's state of mind at the beginning of the book.
He was depressed.
He's depressed, but he's living like on top of a mountain. It would be a gated community, but they don't need gates because it's really the top of the mountain. Nobody can get to them. And he lives a completely different life, and he's missing the life he had before, like in South Central, and in Watts and in Compton. He's dealing with Black people, and Black people who are completely like outside of the radar of being, citizens. And he misses that in this book, and he's trying to get back to it. And one of the things that I realized when I was writing it, now in 2024, was that there are a lot of people now who don't know the experience of Black people. at all. There are a lot of people who will understand. Anybody I write in the early years I wrote about the book, they will understand that book. Whether they agree with what I say or don't agree with it, they'll understand it. Say, yeah, that the police did that because they had to do that, or the police did that because they're so criminal, or whatever they're thinking. And I felt, but people born today, they said, I don't understand what kind of who lived this kind of life, and so I felt I had to explain a little bit about where Easy comes from, where his friends come from, what kind of potentials they had, and how they had to be overachievers at those potentials because they had so little. Like, you couldn't make a mistake. Almost anybody else could make all kinds of mistakes, but in Easy, if he made a mistake, he might be dead. Or if his son, makes a mistake, he might be dead. His son, who's like Chicano, but doesn't matter. Like, he's outside of where things happen. And, so I wanted to explain it. It was the first time I've ever had to explain anything about Easy, but I think it was necessary.
It's so interesting that we're having this conversation in this particular moment where I think that the explanation of why, for instance, as you write in the foreword, he shows up in a place and someone questions him and he has to deal with that and he has an absolute right to belong there. You explain his fury. And right now we are in a moment in this country where you get in trouble. Like, you're not allowed to really talk about the pain of Black folks. They are erasing history. They are taking down our pictures. They are saying, don't talk too much about slavery or bad stuff because it's not American. I watch a lot of news, but I'm watching the news and then I'm reading your intro where you're like, I have to explain why this character does what he does. You took some time to explain how this character came to life. And I wonder for you, sir, if that explanation and his life feels particularly poignant now when stories about where he came from are being canceled.
It is poignant now. If I say particularly, like, I'll be like kind of doing a disservice to a lot of even my own history and other people's histories who, came before. There's a lot of time when, there was a time when we didn't exist in history at all. Period. They were like, Black people never did anything. They never, invented anything. They never won a war. They never saved people's lives. They were never doctors and lawyers and, those things. And so I think that right now it's really important. For me, it's really important that people understand what motivates Easy and his characters, because his friends, because those truths are true for all of us here in America. I look at America and I'm thinking, well, we all have the same problem, and a lot of people want to break the problems down to things like, well, it's race or it's religion or it's culture, and it's money. It really is. It's like, do you have like health insurance? Can you afford your groceries? When you get old, is anybody going to take care of you? All of these things. And, there's a very small percentage of the country that's true for, that people will do those things, that they'll have those things. And I'm just trying to talk about something. I said, well, most of us don't. And I look at other groups of people and I said, your problem is you're now experiencing American life the way Black people have always experienced it. You should understand that, because if we understand each other, then we can move forward.
You've created a nonfiction character who has stood the test of time. Mm-hmm. Like, Denzel Washington played Easy back in the day with Devil in a Blue Dress, and everybody remembers that. It was a big deal. And you've continued the life of this character, but he's grown up with us and he's grown up with the country. And even though, so Grey Dawn is early 70s, right? Like that's
1972, yeah.
Early 70s. So talk about what that character learned from the time we first met him to now in Grey Dawn, your new book.
I think that his life has really expanded. And I think that this is true between 1948, when Devil happens, and 1972. I think his life has broadened. He's met a lot of people. They've met him. He's gotten along in life because, most people in America do get along. And so he's learned a great deal. And he's learned a lot about politics. Like, for instance, he has an assistant. He owns a detective agency, but they're the two guys who work there with him. They have an assistant. Her name is Niska. And Niska, really, she likes everybody. And she wants to be a detective. And Easy, like, it's 1972. He's a guy. He's saying, a woman detective? How does that even work? And most people tell her she can't do it. Easy, what he's learned is, he says, I never even imagined a woman detective, but she wants to do it. So, okay, I'll give her some work and let's see what happens. Easy's like the best possible character derivation that you can have, that he cares about his people, but you can't just care about your people. You care about everybody. You want to take care of people. People want to take care of you. Easy, I don't know if you've gotten into it, but it gets into a fight in this book. And, he's like 50, he's born in 1920, so he's 52. And, so he doesn't really want to fight because he knows how much he can get hurt. And he's beating on this guy. And a much older guy walks up to him and says, that's okay, man. He's had enough now. And that's a voice that we all need to hear, right? We always need to say, oh, okay, you're angry, but now you have to calm down and back up a little bit. And he's really, oh, yeah, I really beat this guy pretty bad. And I think that these are the things that not only he has learned, but everybody has learned. We're more together. We're more together even now than we've ever been. It's just the closer we get, the more friction we have too. But
I think it's interesting when you talk about sort of processing society through his lens. Mm-hmm. So the young woman detective in the new book, Grey Dawn, she is trying to do her own thing, and he sort of talks about it. Like, you know what? There's a guy they work with, Whisper, who's not sure women should be doing these things. Mm-hmm. He says to himself, he says to us, the readers, I'm kind of the same, but there was a line, I wish I had it in front of me. Forgive me, Mr. Mosley, but it was so poignant. He's like, I realized I will not be able to make choices for her. I'm paraphrasing. But the point is that if she shows up and can do the work, I'm not going to decide what the things that she wants to do are beyond my decisioning, no longer my choice. How important is it for you to sort of tell these stories through Easy about how we change societal norms and expectations of people? Because you do that in these books.
Yeah, and it's a really good question, because I'm looking at my character. Easy is one of them. There's others, Socrates, Fortlow, etc. But with Easy, I'm looking through him, and he's seeing this world, and he's trying to understand it. And and the hard part is that when somebody, because if you don't believe somebody can do something, the first mistake they make, you're going to say, oh, yeah, you see, you failed. And this woman's going to make a lot of mistakes. But Easy has to see the good part of what's going on in her and the bad part. And that's what I want to do. That's actually the goal of my writing. Somebody else might be writing the story, so, well, there's a war, and who's going to win the war? Or who committed the crime, and how are we going to get revenge on that person for the crime they committed? And, those things are part of the book. But I'm much more interested in literature giving me, psychological and political understandings of the world that we live in. Because we read. I think that reading is, which is such an important activity, so different, and we've been doing it for 5,000 years and it hasn't changed yet. I know people keep on thinking that things can replace it, but not, and I believe that something will replace it one day, but right now nothing has replaced it. And it's really important that we learn about ourselves and our world through our reading, because when we do that, we also recreate ourselves. And that's what's so important to me.
There's a character we meet in the beginning, and he's rough. He's a rough fellow. And one of the things that Easy processes early in the story is he thinks this brother can't afford to pay his fee. Because by the time we're at Gray Dawn, just so folks know, Easy is successful. He has a house in a gated community. He's got a daughter studying in Paris, but he's kind of made it, in the way that people expect to. And he engages with this new client who's a roughneck. Like the dude is not nice. He's dirty. Based on what I read in the book, he didn't smell good. He's like he's a rough dude. And Easy sort of grapples with, well, he can't pay my fee, but I actually liked my life better when I wasn't just sort of charging folks my actual market value. But instead, when I was giving back to Black people, he's like, I started this business because poor Black people had nobody who looked out for them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is this book like about Easy getting back to his roots? He's now in a gated community. He lives in fancy places. He's fancy now. He's fancy.
He's depressed in his fantasy. He doesn't mind going home there, but his life, especially since the last book, Farewell Amethystin, when he was in love with a woman, the woman committed a crime, and he said, "I can't be with you because you committed the crime." And she says to him, "But you would do the same thing I did." And he said, "But that's different. That's me doing it." It's a thing. And he was wrong, and he knows he's wrong now, but he has the feeling, I want to get back. And so even though this guy comes to him, even though he knows the guy is lying to him, he says, well, that's my job. My job is to find out the lies in the Black community and to make them into truth. That's what I should be doing. And so he's happy working for this guy, even though he knows the guy is lying to him. And he knows that these lies might underlie some kind of violence or whatever. And he's okay with that because it makes him feel at home. And Easy feeling at home. Home is a rough place. I mean, he gets into trouble, and he meets all kinds of people who would, in the right circumstances, be happy to kill him. And he's still doing it. He talks to his old friend Mouse, and Mouse he's tough too. He's married to this Viet Cong woman. It's like he's something. And I think that it was so important for so many people to get back to the part of their life that they really love, but they gave up for security, basically.
He was depressed. Like again, there are no spoilers here.
That's
but
right.
Early in the book, he's talking to his Sicilian neighbor, as it were. And he's like, I drink liquor, it doesn't mean anything. I eat, it doesn't mean anything. And then his Italian neighbor friend sort of says, we're all just doing it for the kids. So there are two questions for you now, sir. Like one, some people who are listening to this don't know the story and the legacy of Easy Rawlins. Mm-hmm. So explain what this particular book does in terms of continuing his legacy. And then if you would talk about why you, the great Walter Mosley, wanted to take his story in this direction?
It was interesting. I guess I could probably answer that now. I mean, when I started writing the book, I didn't know. It starts from like this nub. The nub is him thinking, I'm not happy. My kids are not here. I've made all of these mistakes and it's just left me alone. And so he goes to work. He meets a guy who's for all intents and purposes just a poor Black guy from deep southern Texas who wants help, but whatever he wants help with, it's something other than he's saying. And he starts there, and he ends up, which is part of the book you may not know yet, a conspiracy that covers the whole of Los Angeles County. It's like it's so big and it's so powerful that when he goes to his friend at the police department, Melvin Suggs, and says he knows now the people who have committed this crime, Melvin Suggs says, well, okay, maybe you should leave the country then. And he said, what do you mean leave the country? He says, well, these people are so powerful, you can't hide from them here. So maybe if you go, back to Africa or out to, you used to be in France and fighting over there, maybe you need to go there because I can't help you. He said, but people have been killed. He says, listen, man, if I even mention this guy's name, I'm going to be fired. And that's a reality today, but it's always been a reality. It's always been and easy in trying to answer his own really small life over here with this guy and his, supposed aunt. If you follow any strand long enough, you're going to find trouble that's bigger than yourself. And that's who Easy is.
Do you recognize yourself? If you do, maybe you won't say so. So I'll just say it. You've actually expanded and I think made more real the film noir genre for folks. Mm-hmm. For a lot of folks, I'm a proud Gen Xer. We grew up like seeing, it's like pretty white people with shadows cast on their jaws and they go do things. And it's, but you expanded that. You expanded the noir genre so that it actually includes us noirs.
Yeah. Includes the subject. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So it actually includes the people who are in the town. What does that feel like for you? Do you think about that? Is that something you digest? Because you really have. Like, you open the lens of how Black folks during that period of time, particularly in my city, are being seen. Do you digest that? And I'm just going to thank you for doing that, by the way. I thank you for that. Yeah. And you're a hero for that. But do you think about what that is and what that means?
What's so interesting about it, when you say that, when you talk about, noir and, because noir is actually a film term, that kind of came back to books again. It's funny. But one of the things is when you look, like if you start watching movies about people, in the noir age, let's say, the music is almost always jazz. The music that they play behind it is almost always jazz. It's like the music that Black people invented. I'll even say more clearly, the music that Louis Armstrong invented is how they inform, the atmosphere behind all of these characters and, all these white characters. That, and people I like, Humphrey Bogart is playing this one and that one, and it's like, and it's lovely and beautiful and it's wonderful. But because it doesn't include the culture of the film, which is definitely jazz, there's a lot that gets missed. And that what you're lacking in the film and in the books, could fill a novel, which I started writing those novels, and I wasn't completely alone when I started there. Garth Anthony Haywood was writing and Gary Phillips just a little bit after that. Now I belong to this thing called Crime Writers of Color. There's 400 members, half of them are black, and they're all over the world, from India to Europe and of course America mostly. And it's wonderful that so many people now have taken up that job.
I'm going to read a quick section from the foreword in Grey Dawn, and you talk about the characters in the book. And this is something that you said that was really powerful for me. I actually got a little emotional reading it. These characters are not superhuman. It's just that their quite normal talents must be hyper present in a world that is set against them for reasons that are clear and still make no sense. They face mouths and doors that utter the words whites only. They are stopped by authorities who see their guilt in the color of their skin. They are heroes whose purpose is to undermine enemies who often don't recognize their own culpability. Their history is almost from another dimension, a place, a series of events that have not happened for the keepers of the official history of this country, this world. So when I read that, I got very emotional reading it, which is why I highlighted it, because I also think that the keepers of the official history of this country and this world are actually quite antagonistic to the stories of those folks.
Yeah, they feel really guilty. It makes people feel bad, and people don't want to feel bad. This is the history. You talk about America. I mean, listen, slavery in America is a really, it's a horrendous event. But there's even another event that predates that: the genocide of the people who lived here before the people in Europe came. I mean, and it really is a genocide. You just kind of look at it, and if you say that to somebody, if you say this is like the Germans saying it to themselves, yes, the Nazis, we were the Nazis, we committed genocide, and people don't want Americans thinking that, mainly because it breaks up the corporate domination of the country. Like if you start saying, well, we have a responsibility to ourselves to make sure that this doesn't happen, to make sure that we're aware of it, to make sure that we undo whatever we've done about it, that really hurts the bottom line. And the bottom line is really, the only thing that matters in the end.
What's the answer to that, though? Like, I'm not about to give up California to the people from whom we stole it. We're not about to give up all of the, where do we go from a place of understanding horrible things happened? Now we have to figure out next.
I think that's the worst thing is, of course, you're right. Not only are you not about to do it, you can't do it anyway. And that's something that you can't ask for, but you can ask for people to be aware. You can ask for people to say, well, when you get into this situation, this is what happens. When you start to say, well, we are this and they are that, that's where the problem starts to happen. And it's the most difficult thing in the world to share. It is the most difficult thing in the world to share. But one has to share. And I'm not trying to say your money, your property, and stuff like that. Just your mindset to say, I'm going to be aware of you, and I'm going to be aware of my potential to do wrong and my potential to do right. You have to be aware of all of that together. Listen, another thing with my father, around the same time that I was looking for those strawberry fields, I was with my father, and we were at a stoplight downtown LA. And there was a guy, a white guy, and he had a suit, and he had like an attaché case, probably some kind of business guy. And he was just standing there at the corner. And my father said, "You see that man there, Walter?" And I said, "Yeah, Dad." He said, "You know what? What if I came up and told him, say, man, you owe me $5,000 for what your dad did to my dad?" What do you think he's going to say to me? And he said, well, you're crazy. What do you mean I owe you $5,000? He said, I don't even have $5,000. How could I have stolen it from you? And, and it was so wonderful because he wasn't saying that we don't need to understand each other, that he was saying that we do need to understand each other. He needs to understand what that guy's thinking. That guy needs to understand what he's thinking. They need to know what all of that thinking is based on. And from there, you start to build. You start to build a world, not to return a world or break a world or break down a world. You just start to build a world that makes sense for everybody. And it's a very hard thing. And people don't want to think it. I just say, listen, we're all in the same place. Let's work together. And the first thing you have to work together is you have to have a common language. You have to have a common history.
You are introducing not just characters, but the humanity, the depth, the thoughtfulness, the nuance, the passions, the fears, the depression of characters of a community that I think is often given short shrift in that way. So
has always been given the short shrift.
Deliberate? Is that deliberate?
Yeah. Well, no, all of that is deliberate. I'm trying to write about, people who I love in a way that I love them. So like, it's not just, well, they're very beautiful, they're very this, they're that. There's all kinds of different people. Jackson Blue, who's the smartest person you're going to meet, is a coward. He's a coward. He can't help it. He's always been a coward. He's too smart to be brave because he knows what can happen, or Mouse, Mouse is like the only black man in America who's not afraid of anybody, but he does kill people now and then. There are things that you understand. And if you do understand it, but the reason I'm writing it is the love for those characters. It's not because of the hate of some other character. It's because I love these people. And these people, for me, are living the lives that they want to live, as much as they can, within this system. And I just think that's, if I can say that to somebody, no matter who that person is, they can begin to start to think of things in a different way.
What do you want people to take away from this book?
I don't really people take away. The thing about reading is people take away different things, right?
Sure.
Some people, they learn this. Some people come up to me and say, I moved to Los Angeles from Michigan, and now I understand it a lot better because of reading Easy Rawlins. I'm happy about that. I mean, that doesn't bother me. I think, that's a good thing. I think, though, in the end, if you can see the humanity in the book, if you walk away from the book seeing the humanity in the characters, all of the characters, then you've done something. Because I think the book presents itself like that, and among all the people that are there. And I think that if you can take that away from it, then you're doing okay.
Is there another Easy Rawlins book coming?
I'm going to write another Easy Rawlins book, though I don't know what it's going to be yet. I just finished writing a Joe Oliver book, so that's my Brooklyn detective. So
because you've done all the genres, you've done mystery, you've done science fiction, you've done nonfiction. What makes you happy? Like what fulfills you when you are traversing all of these different genres? Is there something just in the communication of the idea? Why do you write so much about everything? All the things. You write about all the things. You write about all of the things.
You'll probably say the same thing to me about your own life. If my labor is writing, and I love it. I write every day. I write 7 days a week. I never not write. I only write 3 hours a day, but I write 3 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah. And
3 hours a day.
Yeah.
Walk us through what that looks like. So you wake up and you do 3 hours, or do you do 3 hours? Like, what does that look like?
I wake up and I do 3 hours.
And then what do you do the rest of the day?
Well, there's all these other things to do in life. I have friends, I have a life, I go out, I have a good time. I work, for instance, the thing we're not talking about that's going on with me right now is that I have a movie that's out based on my book, The Man in My Basement, with Willem Dafoe and Corey Hawkins, which is all kinds of fun. A little bit in the theaters, and it's on Hulu. We did it with a Disney company. That was a lot of fun, and I made this movie, and It's not about a mystery. The Man in My Basement is kind of it's a political thriller in its own way. It's also the director has kind of a penchant for horror, so there's some horror at least uh, scenes in it, and it's really fun. It was fun to do that. I mean, I do a lot of things like that. If I'm working on a movie, I don't call that writing.
Do you have advice for people?
Well, I think, and all of these things are very difficult. As much as one might say, well, the world out there is doing things and it's falling on my head and that's terrible. And it really is true. That happens a lot. But the thing is that you have to have something to rely on. And that thing is, what you love, like what you love to do, if it's that horn you're playing, or if it's giving financial advice to people, or if it's, swimming. I don't care what it is. If it's the thing that you love and you're passionate for, then that's the thing that you should do. And you should, and that should be the most important thing in your life. Of course, there are things like that, like children, that one cares for and raises and stuff. But I think that the concentration of doing what you love, and I just want to say, for me, I just do it every day. And I find that every day I do something, the next day I'm deeper in it than I was the day before. And that is something that I think that that it's not apparent, and nobody's going to support you doing it. But if you keep doing something, if you keep walking in that direction, you're going to get further and further and further into who you are.
When we finish Gray Dawn, what is the thing that book will leave us with? What are we going to end that book feeling?
Well, I think that this book will lead to happiness in itself.
Oof.
And
Nice.
you'll see that when you get to the end of the book. There's a moment of happiness, but it's like for everything for Easy and his people, it's a bittersweet kind of happiness. It's not simply happiness. It's worth it. If happiness is bittersweet, whatever you went through was worth it. It was worth it getting to that place. And I think that whoever reads it should think that it was worth it to start here and to get there.
I'm still trying. I'm still at the place where we're trying to figure out what happened to Auntie, but we don't want to talk about that because there are no spoilers. Buy the book, read the book, Gray Dawn, the great Walter Mosley. Sir, it is special for me when I get a chance to engage with people who are personal heroes for me. And you are one of them.
Well,
you changed the game. I love your writing. I love reading the things that you write. And I love what you've done in the world. And I love your voice and how you are making it very clear and opening things up for other people. You're just a hero. So thank you, Walter Mosley. I appreciate you. It's an honor.
All right.
I hope you'll come back.
We'll talk soon. It'll be good.
Yes.
It'll be fun.
Yes.
My next book in May is Galen, A Romance in Black.
Did you guys hear that? So Walter Mosley is coming back on the regular on my podcast, and we're going to talk about Galen, his next book. But he's going to come back before then. I'm just announcing it because after I finish the book, I think we're going to have and we'll have like a little cute book club for people who've finished it. Thank you, Mr. Mosley.